Hello, I'm Howard of Brambles Botanicals, and today I'm looking at Pinguicula doily. This was one of the very first hybrids that we made back in probably 2019 when I first started really experimenting with plant genetics. The parentage of doily is Pinguicula cyclosecta by Pinguicula Faulisi. So the name doily is technically just a nickname. When you see those double quotations around a name for a plant or something like that, it typically means nickname. It's nothing registered, it's nothing official. So doily is just a nickname. It is our, out of 11 surviving siblings, it is number 8 that we selected, and we have given all of them loose nicknames. And I may do a video on each and every one of them in the future, but for now, doily's looking spectacular, so I figured that I would start here. It's the depths of January, a lot of things are asleep, but doily is looking fantastic even though it is literally snowing outside. I am looking at snow. Some nice fat flakes. I've already probably gotten 2 or 3 inches today. So despite doily being a nickname, we picked that name for this plant, and it was one of the first plants of the siblings that we named because of how just noticeable it was. Many typical Pinguicula flowers have very separated lobes on their flowers, the petals. And with doily, it leans a little more towards the Faulisi genetics, where it's ruffled, but then it also kind of arrived at this roundness. So it reminded us a lot of the doilies that we saw around our grandparents' homes, where it's round, it can be lacy or have kind of a pattern to it. There's some beautiful venation that adds to that laced effect. And so it just seemed like a very appropriate name for this particular plant. And we could have gone with something more extravagant, like not your grandmother's doily, but we don't want to assume that grandmothers don't want to grow this plant. Many grandmothers love plants, and this is a fantastic companion plant, so it could be your grandmother's doily if she wanted to buy one. I'll send her 2. And on that note, we should have these available on the website. At least at the time of recording, they are available. So if you think this is beautiful, bramblesbotanicals.com. So I'm still learning, and it's difficult for me to confidently describe genetic expression of plants, but with doily, the things that jump out to me are that it got the frilliness of Faulisi. The size of Faulisi's flower was reduced by the genetics of cyclosecta. So the flower sizes of doily are about the same size as cyclosecta, maybe slightly larger, but these are average for a Pinguicula flower. Think roughly 1 square inch, whereas Faulisi's flower is notably larger. On average, a healthy flower is about 2 square inches. Personally, I definitely see more Faulisi in doily than I do see cyclosecta. And perhaps surprisingly, that lean towards the father's genetics versus the mother's actually seems to be somewhat consistent with Pinguicula genetics. I often assume that the mother's genes will be slightly stronger because that's the plant that's producing the seed. In this case, it was cyclosecta. I put pollen from Faulisi onto a cyclosecta flower, and the seed that produced this plant was from cyclosecta. But I see more Faulisi. I see the pink of the flower, the ruffles, the venation. Cyclosecta is notably purple, and there isn't a tremendous amount of purple to be found here. Some of that purple for cyclosecta might become more apparent under stronger light. We don't use tremendously strong lights on our plants, and admittedly we've been rearranging, so even like these ones may have been moved out from under the lights for a moment while we rewired a shelf. So that said, there's still beautiful coloration on the leaves, and especially along the center of the leaf, which I believe is the midrib. There's beautiful coloration. And then these plants, another point in the Faulisi genetics is the leaves have purple pits. So down towards the base of the leaf, it tends to flush purple, which makes the center of the plant look more colorful, because it is, versus the greening of the exterior and the margins of the leaf. I'll show you what I mean, if I may here. So here is a leaf off of one of the doilies. You can see here the base and how purple it gets. And then there's the midrib. And then the really fun thing about this is that this will produce a plant. So I'm going to put it back down in the pot, and a few weeks to a month from now, there should be tiny baby plants on the base of that leaf. So we just took a pulling of Pinguicula doily, and hopefully in a month we'll have even more Pinguicula doily. Another fun aspect of doily is that, to the best of my knowledge, it is fertile. Many Pinguicula hybrids are sterile for whatever reason, but this one should have pollen. Yep, a bunch of yellow pollen on the end of this little static applicator brush. And I'm just gonna self this plant. Not sure if that'll produce anything, but I have some pollen, might as well use it. So just now, we may have made Pinguicula doily by self. And if this does produce seed, I will do my best to update you. Maybe we'll put it online. Another positive of this plant is that it likes to flower. Many pings have a particular season where they flower, but for doily, once it gets to size, it typically keeps pumping out flowers. It may not be 3 or 4 flowers at once, but as one flower fades, another one tends to take its place. So like here, there's a new flower coming up. And as far as size goes for the actual plant itself, doily tends to be about 2 or 3 inches across. It is January. In the summer, they may be a bit bigger, but 2 or 3 doilies typically will very comfortably fill a small pot and kind of consistently produce a number of flowers and just be a very nice little arrangement. Yeah, the largest doily is this one, and it is about 3 inches. And then yes, the flower itself is just under 1 square inch. So this plant was a lot of firsts for us. It was one of our first crosses that actually successfully yielded seed that we sowed, and the seed germinated into plants. And then we have results that survived to adulthood. This is also one of the first plants that we put into tissue culture with our friend David Flockin. So those were really important milestones for us. Well, those are my notes for doily as I have them. Thank you so much for hanging out and looking at these beautiful plants with me. I hope to see you in the next plant highlight. Bye! And it's still snowing. With hybridizing Pinguicula. And today I'm looking Don't know if the mic was picking that up. The neighbor's opening the garage. Well, I'll wait till they drive away, so I'm gonna cut again. As one flower fades, I'm sure that's just delightful ASMR. Let's take a look at my notes. You can't see them. Oh wait, you literally just showed them to you. Doesn't matter, you can freeze frame it. With Pinguicula, whoop. There's some of this star moss here sending up spore sacs. Gotta pull those out. They will send spores everywhere. Cover everything in green. Like Stephen King in, what was that, Creepshow? Well, those are my notes. Thank you for hanging out. Like, I think that's good.